am not sorry for something I didn't do, and I am not sorry for the things I did do.
How did this man get 3 consecutive life sentences? We're going to be looking at some of the most painful prison sentence reactions by notorious gang members and criminals. After you find out what they did, you won't feel too bad for them. Ronnie O'Neal. Family members of a mother and daughter who were brutally killed in 2018 were present in the courtroom when a judge, following the decision of life in prison, handed down 3 consecutive life sentences.
I did kill Kenyatta.
Ronnie O'Neal was sentenced to life in prison without the chance of parole in June 2021. After a jury found him guilty of killing his girlfriend and his 9-year-old daughter at their Riverview home, as well as attempting to kill his 8-year-old son, who later testified against him in court, and his reaction is far from regretful.
I am not sorry for something I didn't do, and I am not sorry for the things I did do.
Jaleel Smith. At an emotional press conference, Norwood Police Lieutenant Ron Murphy announced that 3 suspects had been identified in the 2013 robbery gone wrong that resulted in the death of Portia Brooks. Jaleel Markeith Smith Riley, 22, was arrested in Cincinnati and charged with 1 count of murder. He pleaded guilty later to aggravated murder and attempted murder, but decided to withdraw his plea against the advice of his attorneys.
I just want to come home with it.
This is somebody that feels genuine remorse.
But Judge Charles Kubicki rejected Smith Riley's change of heart and sentenced him to life in prison without the possibility of parole, at which point Jaleel almost collapsed to the floor.
Four defendants serve a term of life without parole. As to count 4, the offense of attempted murder, mandatory consecutive underlying offenses, all those counts are consecutive each other. Coca credit for time served amount of 349 days, or those 4 counts herein.
Abel Gallegos. Gallegos was one of the 3 men convicted of the retaliation murder of Simone Duran. Duran was assaulted by Quintana and Gallegos and imprisoned in the back seat of a car. She was then driven to a dark, secluded spot at 7th and Nile in Golden, where Gallegos and Quintana shot her 10 times. They left the area. Gallegos and Rosales came back later and poured gasoline on her body and set it on fire. Horrific crime resulted in a sentence of life in prison and 163 years without parole. But Abel barely had a reaction and kept a straight face while his friends and family sobbed for him instead.
This is where you will end up, with your family and friends crying as you're let out of the courtroom to serve the rest of your life in prison.
David Parga. Leland Washington attended a Halloween house party in La Habra on October 29, 2006, along with some buddies. Washington and several other guests did not belong to any gangs, despite the fact that the party was hosted by gang members. Inside the residence, 2 girls got into a shoving struggle that escalated into a fight. Washington was not involved in the altercation or fight and was standing outside the home when Parga approached him and shot him 4 times. The brutal crime led to a sentence of 50 years in prison, but was handed 8 years after the crime. Surprisingly, Parga was highly apologetic and seemed to have accepted the consequences of his actions.
To you specifically, I want to say sorry to what happened to your son. I know the pain you're feeling. My mom comes to see me, she cries because of what's happening to me. And I could only imagine what you're going through. You lost your son.
George Jawald Thomas. Jawald committed 7 different murders between 2008 and 2010 and was known as the notorious leader of a gang known as the 28s and was finally handed a sentence 5 years later. Judge Chantal Fortuyn found Thomas guilty on 7 counts of murder, 2 of racketeering, 3 of belonging to a criminal gang, 3 conspiracy to commit a crime, 10 counts of inciting the commitment of a crime, and many other things you'd expect on a gang leader's resume. The sentence was nothing short of harsh, at a total of 175 years in prison. Yet Jawald was seen smiling and laughing at the media crew, and didn't show any hints of regret, anger, or even anxiety.